I want to give a shout out to my loyal patrons, as well as my newest patrons, Michael Lusk and Gregg Brown. Gregg is my newest explosive boomer, as well as my fine tool partners down below. Thank you guys very much. Couldn't do it without you.
Now, drawer making can be an Achilles heel for a lot of people, and fortunately, since we are learning Sketchup, I'm going to show you guys how to make drawers in Sketchup so you know exactly what to cut. Now, I understand that a lot of people out there may not have access to a dado stack or have access to a table saw that can accept a dado stack. So in this particular video, I'm going to show you how to make a drawer using pocket screws, and we're actually going to throw those pocket screw holes in the model like we did last week so you can see exactly what your layout needs to be so there's no guesswork involved when you come out to make it in your shop. So if this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment down below letting me know how you like this video series. And if you have any questions about SketchUp, feel free to drop them down below as well. If you want to help support the show, you can become a patron, get some rewards and some free stuff, or you can visit my Amazon store, and anything that you have seen me use in my shop, you can find in that store. That will help support me too. Don't forget you can check out my website and buy some merch there. That will also help and give me some more free space in the shop.
Alright, so like I said, this is going to be a video about drawer making. Now, I'm only going to do this with pocket screws to start, but with a table saw and some plywood and a pocket screw jig of some kind, you can make cabinetry. So let's start off by showing you something completely brand new that you have never seen yet on my tutorials. And I just found this out the other day watching a video, and I thought it was super cool because it's super handy. And it's the ability to hide anything that's in your way that you may be wanting to work on, say, this cabinet side, and you don't want all this stuff in front of you without having to click on it and hide it all individually like this to get to it. I'm going to show you something that hides it all at once. So if you go up here to the view portion of your screen and go down to component edit and hide rest of model, check mark that. So now what that does is any component that you click in, it will automatically hide all unnecessary components that don't have that name. So if I click on this side, you notice that everything but the sides have disappeared. So now I don't have to physically hide anything individually anymore. Now you can turn that function off by going to the View, Component Edit, and uncheck it, and it will bring everything back. But I don't want to do that. So I'm going to leave that on. So if you guys see things disappear, that is why. So we need to figure out what size of a drawer that we need to make, and we're going to use the measurement tool to figure that out by going to the top of the cabinet. And if you notice how this cabinet is arranged, I have a backer back here that's 3/4 of an inch thick. So I'm going to click on my measurement tool and go to the front edge right here. Click and drag back, because the drawer front will actually be flush with that face frame in the front of the cabinet, and then an overlay drawer front will be put on top of that later. So it says that it's 22.5 inches. So if you take into account that 3/4 inch backer back there, it's going to be 21 3/4 inches deep that I have to work with. Now, drawer slides are made in 2-inch increments. So you have 16s, 18s, 20s, and 22s, and 24s if your cabinet is very big. So unfortunately, our cabinet is just shy of 22 inches deep, so we're going to have to use 20-inch slides. But you can make your drawer as deep as you want to take it, as long as it doesn't impede with anything inside the cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and make a 21-inch deep drawer and use 20-inch slides to attach it. So with that knowledge, first I'm going to come down here to this red axis line, and I'm going to draw a reference line on the green axis 21 inches deep. And I'm going to go ahead and pop another line on that red axis so I have something to snap to later. So I've got the depth, so now let's figure out the width. Now if you use ball bearing drawer slides, the thickness of each slide is a 1/2 inch thick. So you have to accommodate that on either side of the drawer opening. So if we measure the drawer opening itself from one edge to one edge on the interior aspect of it, it is 25.5 inches wide. So if I took a 1/2 inch on the left and a 1/2 inch on the right completely off, that will leave me with a 24.5 inch wide drawer. Overall, that will accommodate my slides. So, knowing that bit of information, I'm going to come back over here, go to the green line, and pop myself out a random line here in space, and then from that line, I'm going to pop a 24.5 inch wide drawer. So now I have my dimensions of depth and width, but I don't have the height yet. So I need to go establish the height. So let's go back to the actual opening itself. And using the tape measure function, the overall height is 6 inches. Now, the way I install drawer slides, and I'll go in depth on another video about this, it automatically gives me a 3/8 inch gap from the drawer bottom to the face frame. So knowing that, I'm going to pop myself a 3/8 inch line right there. I'm going to give myself a 1/2 inch from the top to make it a little uniform from all sides except the bottom, and measure that distance, which is 5 1/8 of an inch. So that is how tall the drawer needs to be. So I'm going to go back over here to my square that I made in space, and using my rectangle function, turn it on and pop from corner to corner. And then push-pull that up 5 1/8 inches. Highlight it all, and then turn it into a group. That way it'll be separate from anything else we throw inside or on top. Now, something else that is going to be handy is removing these faces. Make yourself basically a skeleton template. So go into the group and highlight a face and hit delete. And do that on all of the faces, and it will remove, whoops, got rid of that. There we go, and remove all the faces. That way you're left with just a skeleton of that template, so you can see through it and put your parts accordingly to it. So get rid of my lines now. I don't need them, so we can work with this template. So like I said, this is going to be a pocket screw drawer, so everything's going to be nice and simple. So we're going to pop a rectangle from corner to corner on the side and push-pull it in 0.75 inches. Make this immediately a component, so name it drawer side. Now we're going to just copy this. Just hit Option and copy with the Move tool and drag it over and pop it. So now we have our two sides in place. I want to flip this side along the red axis so I can take this edge, or this face rather, and make it that face. So flip along red. So if I make any changes, it'll be mirrored. So if I make a change on this inside face will be the only side affected on this particular component. So let's make a drawer front. So let's pop corner to corner. Push-pull that in 0.75 inches. Name it a component drawer front. And let's do the back. Now, I'm not copying the front and dragging it back here because the back is actually going to be slightly different. So I'm just making it a component all by itself. We'll call it drawer back. And the reason why is because it needs to accommodate the drawer bottom. So if you don't have dado stacks, this is a way to get a drawer bottom attached to a drawer. So I'm going to go into that component. You notice everything disappeared. We're going to drag it up 0.5 inches, and that is how thick our drawer bottom is going to be. So you can see that it's kind of up a little bit. Now, since I have the drawer laid out, I don't need my skeleton template anymore. So I'm just going to highlight it and get it out of there. Okay, so now the opening for the drawer bottom needs to be put into place. So we're going to pop from the inside corner there to there. and then we need to drag it up. You can pop it to the line or just type in 0.5 and enter. So now our drawer is complete. So let's name it drawer bottom. Just like that. So now we need to lay out our joinery, which is pocket screws. And laying it out in Sketchup allows you to be able to see what you need to accommodate for, and you'll see what I mean when we're done. So let's put some pocket screws on the back side of this drawer back. We'll go down 1 inch with our tape measure tool. 1 inch from that. And let's go into the 3D warehouse. Now, we're going to use the actual pocket screw that is meant for 3/4 inch thick material. So by typing in pocket hole, just start clicking on these models to find out what the name is. This one is 7/8, so that's wrong. This one is 5/8. This one, there's 3/4 right there. So that's the one we want. We're going to hit download and hit OK. It will throw it into our model. Now, I'm not inside this component anymore, so it's not going to give it to me with a cut face function. So I'm just going to drop it out here in space, and that will throw it up into our window component window that I showed you in the last video. Nothing new here. Just go to Window, Components, and it will bring up this window right here. Now, the Gregg pocket screw, it's in alphabetical order, so it threw it in right here. Now, the reason I have 2 is because I'd already thrown together this cabinet with a whole bunch of pocket holes, so it was already in my list. So I can actually get rid of this if I want to by clicking on it. Just hit Escape, so your function will go away there. Just right-click on it, now highlight it, and hit Delete. You won't have to do this in yours because mine already had it in there, so don't worry about hitting delete on yours. So now that I've got it in here, I'm going to go into the back component and hit the pocket hole, and let's zoom in now so we know where it needs to go. We're going to rotate it with our move function and just hitting those crosses so I know exactly where to pop it. And now we're going to copy it, hitting the option and dragging it down. Now let's copy both of these, and we're just going to pull them out into space over here. And let's flip them along the red axis, because the red is running from left to right. So that will basically turn these things from end to end. So let's right click on them and flip along red. There we go. Now they're flipped in for end. Back out and zoom back in and pop them right there. Okay, so now the back has their pocket holes. We need to do the same thing to the front, and this is what I'm talking about in regards to knowing where things are laid out. Because the front is slightly different, you're going to have to accommodate the drawer bottom. So if I put a 1 inch line from the bottom of the actual drawer front, it will be a little too close to the drawer bottom. So let's accommodate another line that's 0.5 inches from that 1 inch mark. So that will give us 1 inch from the actual drawer bottom instead of the edge of the drawer front, if that makes sense. So let's drop a 1 inch line here. We don't have to accommodate anything from there. There we go, 1 inch. And grab our pocket screws and start dragging in. So now our pocket holes are laid out on the front, which secures them to the sides. So now we need to secure the drawer bottom to the sides as well as the drawer front. Now the back, you can actually just run screws right up through the drawer bottom into the back, or you can put a pocket hole going from the back into the bottom. Personally, I prefer putting a screw up from the bottom into the back. It's a lot easier that way, and it will be a lot stronger because you're relying not only the screw threads in the back, but the head of the screw will be in the bottom, which is a lot wider surface area to hold that drawer bottom in. And you can also throw some glue on there because this drawer bottom is going to be plywood, so wood movement is not going to be a problem. So let's go ahead and go into the component of the drawer bottom and start throwing in pocket screws there. Now if I click out, you can see now we got pocket screws going into the side, front, and then you can run screws up from the bottom into the back. So now our drawer is complete. So let's get rid of our guidelines. We're going to highlight this entire drawer and turn it into a component itself and just call it drawer. And drag it into our model of our cabinet. So let's snap it first to that corner, drag it up 3/8 of an inch gap there, and then drag it over 0.5 inches gap for the drawer slides, and we automatically have our gap over here for the other drawer slide. So you can verify your measurements to make sure that you accommodated the right amount of space, and if you did, take that entire drawer and drop it down into the lower half right there, and then come down here to that corner and copy it again, snap it to the face frame, and then just move it up 3/8 of an inch, and you are done. So now you have a converted standard cabinet that you might get from Home Depot or Lowe's, and you have made it into a pull-out drawer cabinet that is a lot more useful than a standard cabinet.
So don't forget, this was a pocket screw demonstration. On next time's video, I am going to show you guys how to take that pocket screw drawer and turn it into a joinery drawer using a dado stack. So a lot of good information is on the way. After that, we'll work on the cabinetry, doing pocket screws first and then joinery after, and that way you guys can see how cabinets are constructed and make some for your kitchen or shop. So I want to take a minute and thank my new Patreon supporter, Gregg Brown up there. He is my newest explosive boomer. He is entitled to 2 free plans and a t-shirt. And Michael Lusk, who is my newest rocker. He also gets a free plan and access to this stuff 24 hours in advance. So like I said, if you guys are interested, be sure and become a patron today. Also, my tool partners down below, I could not do it without you guys, so thank you very much for supporting the show. Don't forget, you can check out my other videos right over there, and click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I want to thank you guys very much again, and I will see you on the next SketchUp tutorial. Boom!